My name is Nathan Heller, and at 42 years old, I've learned that life has a twisted sense of humor. Take tonight, for instance. It's 2:17 a.m., and I'm staring at a text message that would make most husbands lose their minds. Instead, I'm smiling like a chess player who just spotted checkmate in 3 moves. The message glows on my phone screen. Pick me up at Grant's house now. Don't ask questions, just come. Eliza. Grant Garrison, my wife's boss. The man who drives a Range Rover like it's a tank and treats everyone around him like peasants in his personal kingdom. The same Grant who's been working late with my wife Eliza for the past 3 months, always having those urgent client emergencies that require her immediate attention at all hours. I set the phone down on my nightstand and lean back against the headboard. The house is quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning and the occasional creak of settling wood. Eliza's side of the bed hasn't been slept in. Again. You might wonder why I'm not racing over there, demanding explanations, making a scene. Here's the thing about being an IT consultant for 15 years. You learn to think systematically. You don't panic when the server crashes. You trace the problem back to its source and fix it methodically. Marriage problems, I've discovered, aren't much different from network failures. They both require patience, logic, and sometimes a complete system reboot. The phone buzzes again. Nathan, I'm serious. Come get me right now. I pick up the device and scroll through my contacts until I find the number I'm looking for. Chloe Garrison, Grant's wife. We met at a company barbecue last summer, and she struck me as the kind of woman who notices everything but says nothing. Until now, I dial her number. Hello? Her voice is sharp, alert despite the hour. Chloe, it's Nathan Heller. I'm sorry to call so late, but I was wondering, is Grant home tonight? There's a pause that stretches long enough for me to count my heartbeats. When she speaks again, her tone has changed completely. No, Nathan, he's not. And I'm guessing Eliza isn't home either. No, she's not. I see. Another pause. Would you like to come over for coffee? I think we need to talk. 20 minutes later, I'm sitting in Chloe Garrison's pristine kitchen, holding a mug of coffee that's stronger than anything I've ever tasted. She's a striking woman in her late 30s, with auburn hair and the kind of sharp intelligence that most people underestimate. Tonight, she looks like someone who's been waiting for this conversation for months. How long have you known? She asks. Suspected? About 6 weeks. Known for certain? About 30 minutes ago. She nods and sips her coffee. I've been tracking his movements for 2 months. Different hotels, late-night meetings, mysterious charges on credit cards he thinks I don't monitor. You monitor his credit cards? I monitor everything, Nathan. I learned a long time ago that trust is a luxury I can't afford with Grant. She sets down her mug and looks me directly in the eye. The question is, what are we going to do about it? My phone has been buzzing constantly. 17 missed calls from Eliza, and the text messages are getting increasingly frantic. The latest one reads, Where are you? This is important. Come get me now, or there will be consequences. I show the message to Chloe, who reads it and laughs. Not a happy sound, but something cold and sharp. Consequences, she repeats. How interesting. What kind of consequences do you think she means? With Eliza, it could be anything. She's got a talent for making other people's lives difficult when she doesn't get her way. Tell me about her. So I do. I tell Chloe about the woman I married 12 years ago, back when Eliza was charming and funny instead of manipulative and cruel. I explain how she gradually transformed from my partner into someone who treats our marriage like a business arrangement that's no longer profitable. I describe the subtle put-downs, the way she undermines me in front of our 15-year-old daughter Piper, the constant criticism disguised as helpful suggestions. She sounds delightful, Chloe says dryly. Grant deserves her. What's your husband like at home? Controlling, arrogant. He thinks everyone exists to serve his needs. She pauses. But you probably know that from working with him. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I don't work directly with Grant, but I've seen him in action at company events. He's the kind of man who snaps his fingers at waiters and interrupts people mid-sentence because he assumes his thoughts are more important than anyone else's. Eliza always claimed he was misunderstood, that his demanding nature was just passion for excellence. Now I realize she was defending him because she was sleeping with him. Chloe, I have an idea, but it's going to require some patience on both our parts. I'm listening. What if we don't confront them tonight? What if we let them think they're getting away with it for a while longer and use that time to our advantage? She leans forward, interested. What kind of advantage? The kind that ensures when this comes out, and it will come out. We control the narrative. We control the timing. We control the consequences. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a call, not a text. I let it ring. You're not going to answer? No. Let her wonder where I am for a change. Let her feel what it's like to be ignored and dismissed. Chloe smiles, and for the first time tonight, it reaches her eyes. I like the way you think, Nathan. We spend the next hour planning. Chloe has access to Grant's calendar, his email, his financial records. I have technical skills and a thorough understanding of how Eliza operates. Between us, we can build a case that will make their affair impossible to deny and incredibly expensive for both of them. By the time I leave Chloe's house, the sun is starting to rise, and my phone shows 53 missed calls from Eliza. I drive home slowly, taking the scenic route through our suburban neighborhood, past the perfectly manicured lawns and the houses where normal couples are probably sleeping peacefully in their beds. When I pull into my driveway, Eliza's car isn't there. I check my phone one more time and find a text sent 20 minutes ago. Fine, I'll find my own way home. We need to talk when I get there. I walk into my house, pour myself a glass of orange juice, and sit down at the kitchen table to wait. The morning light filters through the windows, casting long shadows across the hardwood floors. Everything looks normal, peaceful even, but I can feel the change in the air, like the electricity that builds before a thunderstorm. Eliza arrives home at 7:43 a.m., looking disheveled and furious. Her blonde hair is messy, her makeup smeared, and she's wearing the same clothes she had on yesterday. She storms into the kitchen like a hurricane making landfall. Where were you? She demands. I called you 50 times. I was out, I say calmly, not looking up from my orange juice. Out where? Does it matter? You weren't here either. She slams her purse down on the counter. That's different. I was dealing with a work emergency. At Grant's house? The question hangs in the air between us like a loaded weapon. Eliza's face goes through several expressions in rapid succession. Surprise, guilt, anger, and finally, calculation. How did you... She stops herself. Yes, at Grant's house. We were working on the Morrison account. It's a big client, Nathan. These things happen in the business world. At 2 a.m? Deadlines don't follow normal business hours. I stand up and rinse my glass in the sink, keeping my movements casual and unhurried. Of course not. I'm sure the Morrison account required your immediate attention at Grant's house in the middle of the night, while his wife was apparently unaware he was working. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I'm just trying to understand the situation. Eliza studies my face, looking for signs of anger or suspicion. What she finds instead is calm indifference, which seems to unsettle her more than shouting would have. Nathan, I don't like your tone. I don't have a tone. I'm just tired. I think I'll take a shower and get some rest before Piper wakes up. I start to leave the kitchen, but Eliza grabs my arm. We're not finished talking about this. I look down at her hand on my arm, then back at her face. Actually, we are. You've explained everything perfectly. Work emergency, big client. These things happen. I gently remove her hand and head upstairs, leaving her standing in the kitchen with her mouth open. As I climb the stairs, I can hear her muttering angrily to herself, but I can't make out the words. In the shower, I let the hot water wash over me and think about the conversation with Chloe. We've agreed to meet again tomorrow night to compare notes and plan our next move. For now, the goal is to act normal, to give Eliza and Grant enough rope to hang themselves with. The game has begun, and they don't even know they're playing. The next few days pass in a strange sort of normalcy. Eliza goes to work, comes home at reasonable hours, and acts like nothing happened. She's even being unusually nice, cooking dinner and asking about my day with the kind of forced cheerfulness that makes my skin crawl. I play along, responding to her questions and making small talk, but inside I'm watching her like a scientist observing a specimen. Every gesture, every word choice, every glance at her phone is data to be analyzed and filed away. On Thursday evening, I'm helping our daughter Piper with her calculus homework when Eliza announces she has to work late again. Another Morrison account emergency? I ask, without looking up from the math problems. Different client, the Henderson Group. They're launching a new product line and the campaign needs to be perfect. Piper rolls her eyes. Mom, you've been working late every night this week. Don't you have other people at your agency who can handle some of this stuff? It's complicated, sweetheart. Sometimes the senior account managers have to take on extra responsibility. I help Piper solve a particularly tricky integral while Eliza gathers her things. She kisses Piper goodbye, gives me a quick peck on the cheek, and heads for the door. Don't wait up, she calls over her shoulder. As soon as her car pulls out of the driveway, I turn to Piper. Want to order pizza and watch a movie? Can we get the one with extra cheese and pepperoni? We can get whatever you want. Piper is 15, sharp as a blade, and has inherited my talent for observation. She's also inherited Eliza's stubborn streak and her grandmother's ability to see through people's lies. As we wait for the pizza to arrive, she curls up next to me on the couch and asks the question I've been dreading. Dad, are you and Mom getting divorced? I consider lying, but Piper deserves better than that. I don't know yet, sweetheart. Why do you ask? Because you guys have been acting weird. Mom's been super fake nice, and you've been too quiet. Plus, she's working late every single night, which is suspicious because her agency isn't that busy. I checked their social media accounts. Of course she did. Piper has been coding since she was 12 and can navigate the internet like a digital native. If there's information to be found online, she'll find it. What did you discover? Nothing about extra work or big campaigns, but I did find some interesting photos from last week's office party. She pulls out her phone and shows me a series of Instagram posts from various employees at Eliza's agency. In the background of one photo, I can clearly see Eliza and Grant standing very close together, his hand on her lower back, both of them laughing at some private joke. That's Grant Garrison, right? Mom's boss? Yes. He's married, isn't he? Yes. Piper studies my face with the intensity of a detective examining evidence. And Mom's been working late at his house. It's not a question. Somehow my 15-year-old daughter has pieced together what's happening without me saying a word. Piper? It's okay, Dad. I'm not a little kid anymore. I can handle the truth. So I tell her. Not everything, but enough. I explain that her mother has been lying about where she's been spending her evenings, and that I'm trying to figure out how to handle the situation. Are you going to confront her? Eventually, but not yet. Why not? Because right now she thinks she's in control. She thinks she's fooling me. That gives me an advantage. Piper nods thoughtfully. Like in chess, you let your opponent think they're winning until you're ready to make your real move. Exactly like chess. The pizza arrives, and we spend the rest of the evening watching an action movie and pretending everything is normal. But when Piper goes to bed, I sit in my home office and begin putting together a comprehensive file on my wife's activities. I start with her phone records, which I can access through our family plan account. The pattern is obvious once you know what to look for. Multiple calls and texts to Grant's number, always during work hours or late at night. I screenshot everything and save it to an encrypted folder. Next, I check our joint credit card statements. There are charges I don't recognize, restaurants I've never been to, a hotel room downtown, expensive lingerie from a boutique I've never heard of. More screenshots, more evidence. At 11:30 p.m., I drive to Grant's neighborhood and park across the street from his house. Eliza's car is in the driveway, right next to his Range Rover. The living room lights are on, and I can see two silhouettes moving around inside. I don't feel angry or hurt. I feel vindicated. All my suspicions confirmed, all my theories proven correct. I take a few photos with my phone, note the time and date, and drive home. Eliza returns at 1:15 a.m., trying to be quiet as she slips into bed. She thinks I'm asleep, but I'm lying there in the dark, listening to her settle in beside me. She smells like Grant's cologne and wine and guilt. How was work? I ask softly. She jumps, startled. I thought you were asleep. Just dozing. Long night with the Henderson group? Yes, very long, but productive. I'm sure it was. The next morning, I call Chloe and suggest we meet for lunch. She agrees immediately, and we choose a restaurant downtown, far from both our neighborhoods and both our spouses' offices. Chloe looks tired but determined. She's wearing a navy blue dress and pearls, the picture of suburban respectability, but there's steel in her eyes that wasn't there a week ago. I have news, she says as soon as we sit down. Grant's been sloppy with his computer security. He uses the same password for everything, and he never logs out of his personal email when he's at home. What did you find? She slides a manila folder across the table. Hotel reservations, restaurant receipts, and some very interesting email exchanges with your wife. I open the folder and scan the contents. It's all there. Proof of their affair laid out in black and white. Hotel rooms booked under Grant's name, dinner reservations for 2 at romantic restaurants, and emails between Grant and Eliza that leave no doubt about the nature of their relationship. The emails are particularly damning. Eliza writes like a teenager with a crush, gushing about their special connection and how Grant makes her feel alive again. Grant's responses are typically arrogant, treating her like a conquest rather than a person. This is perfect, I tell Chloe, but we need more. More? We need them to expose themselves publicly. Private evidence is good for divorce proceedings, but public humiliation is what will really make them pay for what they've done. Chloe leans back in her chair and smiles. I was hoping you'd say that, because I have an idea. She explains that Grant's agency is hosting their annual Client Appreciation Gala next month. It's a big event, attended by all the major clients, employees, and their spouses. Grant will be giving a presentation about the agency's recent successes, and Eliza will be there as one of his senior account managers. What if something went wrong with his presentation? Chloe suggests. What if instead of showing slides about marketing campaigns, the projector displayed something more personal? You mean the emails? Among other things. I also have access to his phone, which means I have access to his text messages and photos. The implications of what she's suggesting hit me immediately. We could expose their affair in front of everyone who matters in their professional lives. Clients, colleagues, competitors, all of them would witness Grant and Eliza's humiliation simultaneously. That's brilliant, I say. But we'll need to be careful about how we do it. If we're too obvious, they'll know it was sabotage. I've thought about that too. What if it looked like an accident, a technical malfunction that just happened to display the wrong files? We spend the rest of lunch planning the details. Chloe will handle getting access to Grant's presentation files and substituting our evidence. I'll work on creating a technical scenario that makes the whole thing look like an unfortunate mistake. As we're leaving the restaurant, Chloe touches my arm. Nathan, are you sure you want to do this? Once we cross this line, there's no going back. They crossed the line first, I reply. We're just making sure everyone knows about it. That evening, Eliza announces another late night at the office. This time, I don't ask questions or make comments. I just nod and tell her I'll see her in the morning. After she leaves, Piper and I order Chinese food and work on her college application essays. She's applying to MIT and Stanford, among others, and her personal statement is about using technology to solve complex problems. You know, she says as she types, I've been thinking about what you said about chess strategy. What about it? Sometimes the best move isn't the obvious one. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a piece to win the game. I look at my daughter, really look at her, and realize she understands exactly what's happening. She knows her mother is cheating, she knows I'm planning some kind of response, and she's telling me she supports whatever I decide to do. Piper, no matter what happens between your mother and me, you know I love you, right? Of course I know that. And Dad? For what it's worth, I think Mom's being an idiot. You're worth 10 of that Grant guy. Later that night, after Piper goes to bed, I sit in my office and begin preparing for the gala. I research the hotel's audiovisual system, study the layout of the event space, and create a detailed timeline of exactly how Chloe and I will execute our plan. Eliza comes home at 2:30 a.m., and this time she doesn't even try to be quiet. She's slightly intoxicated, humming to herself as she gets ready for bed. When she slides in next to me, she smells like wine and expensive perfume and someone else's life. Good night, Nathan, she whispers. Good night, Eliza. But I don't sleep. I lie there in the dark, listening to her breathe and think about checkmate. In chess, the game is over when the king has no legal moves left. The king isn't captured or destroyed, it's simply trapped, with nowhere to go and no way to escape. Eliza doesn't know it yet, but she's about to find herself in exactly that position. The morning after Eliza's latest work emergency, I wake up to find her already gone. There's a note on the kitchen counter written in her careful handwriting. Early meeting with clients. We'll be home late again tonight. Don't wait up. E? I pour myself coffee and study the note. Even her goodbye messages have become impersonal, like memos from a distant colleague rather than communications from a wife. The transformation is almost complete. The woman I married has been replaced by someone I barely recognize. Piper stumbles into the kitchen wearing her school uniform and an expression of teenage disdain that could wither plants. Let me guess, she says, grabbing a banana from the counter. Mom's working late again? How did you know? Well, because she's been working late every night for 2 weeks, and she left the house at 6:30 this morning looking like she was going to a fashion show instead of a client meeting. I hadn't noticed Eliza's appearance when she left, but Piper's observation doesn't surprise me. My wife has always dressed well, but lately she's been putting extra effort into her appearance. New clothes, expensive makeup, professional manicures. All the signs of a woman trying to impress someone. Dad, can I ask you something? Always. When you finally confront Mom about all this, can I be there? The question catches me off guard. Why would you want to be there? Because I'm tired of pretending everything's normal. I'm tired of watching her lie to your face every single day. And I'm tired of watching you pretend you don't know what's happening. Piper has her mother's directness, but none of her cruelty. When she speaks, it's because she has something important to say, not because she wants to hear herself talk. Sweetheart, when this comes out, it's going to be messy, very messy. I don't want you to get caught in the middle of it. I'm already in the middle of it. The only difference is that right now I have to keep pretending I don't know anything. She has a point. Piper is smart enough to have figured out the situation on her own, and mature enough to handle the truth. Maybe it's time to stop protecting her from reality. Okay, I say. When the time comes, you can be there. She nods, satisfied, and heads off to catch her bus. I watch through the kitchen window as she walks down our street, backpack slung over one shoulder, moving with the confident stride of someone who knows exactly who she is and what she wants. My phone rings. It's Chloe. We have a problem, she says without preamble. Grant's getting suspicious. What kind of suspicious? He asked me last night why I was so interested in his work schedule, and this morning I caught him checking his computer to see if anyone had accessed his email. This is the risk we knew we were taking. The longer we wait to make our move, the more likely it becomes that Grant or Eliza will realize they're being watched. How much time do we have? I don't know. Maybe a few days, maybe a few hours. But Nathan, if we're going to do this, we need to do it soon. I check my calendar. The agency gala is still 2 weeks away, but Chloe is right. We can't wait that long. We need to accelerate our timeline. What if we create our own opportunity, I suggest? Something sooner than the gala? Like what? Give me a few hours to think about it. I'll call you back. After Chloe hangs up, I spend the morning researching Grant's agency and their upcoming events. There's a client presentation scheduled for tomorrow afternoon, a pitch to a major corporation that could land them a multi-million contract. Grant will be leading the presentation with Eliza as his second in command. Perfect. I call Chloe back and explain my idea. The presentation is being held at the client's corporate headquarters in a conference room that seats about 30 people. All the agency's senior staff will be there, along with the potential client's executive team. If we can sabotage that presentation the same way we plan to sabotage the gala, we'll have a smaller but more targeted audience, I explain. These are the people who matter most to Grant's career. But how do we get access to their presentation materials? Leave that to me. I have an idea. That evening, when Eliza comes home from another late night at the office, I'm waiting for her in the living room with a glass of wine and what I hope looks like a romantic gesture. Welcome home, I say, standing to kiss her cheek. I thought we could spend some time together tonight. She looks surprised and slightly suspicious. That's sweet, Nathan, but I'm exhausted. It's been a long day. I'm sure it has. The Henderson Group project must be very demanding. Yes, it is. Actually, I was hoping you could tell me more about what you're working on. I've been feeling disconnected from your career lately, and I'd love to understand what you do all day. This is a calculated risk. Eliza loves talking about herself and her work, but she'll have to be careful not to contradict her cover story about which client she's been working with. She settles onto the couch next to me and accepts the glass of wine I offer. For the next hour, she spins an elaborate tale about marketing campaigns and client demands, weaving truth and fiction together with the skill of a practiced liar. But she makes one crucial mistake. When I ask about tomorrow's schedule, she mentions the big presentation to Morrison Industries, the same client she claimed to be working with 2 weeks ago, not the Henderson Group she's supposedly been focused on recently. I don't call her on the inconsistency. Instead, I nod and ask follow-up questions, encouraging her to give me more details about the presentation, the location, the attendees, and the technology they'll be using. Grant must be nervous, I say casually. It sounds like a lot is riding on this pitch. He's confident. Grant doesn't get nervous about presentations. He says he could sell ice to penguins. I'm sure he could. Will you be using your own laptop for the presentation, or does the client provide the equipment? Grant always brings his own setup. He doesn't trust other people's technology. Perfect. That's exactly what I needed to know. After Eliza goes to bed, I call Chloe and share what I've learned. We refine our plan, coordinate our timing, and prepare for tomorrow's operation. Are you sure about this? Chloe asks. Once we do this, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. They've made their choice, and now they have to live with the consequences. The next morning, I drop Piper off at school and then drive to Morrison Industries' corporate headquarters. It's a gleaming glass tower downtown, the kind of building that screams success and corporate power. Grant's presentation is scheduled for 2:00 p.m. I park across the street and wait. At 1:30, Grant's Range Rover pulls into the visitor parking area, followed by Eliza's sedan. They get out of their respective cars and meet at the building's entrance, where Grant briefly touches Eliza's arm in a gesture that's just intimate enough to be inappropriate for colleagues. I take photos with my phone's zoom lens, capturing their body language and facial expressions. Even from a distance, it's obvious these two people are more than coworkers. At 1:45, I enter the building through a side entrance and take the elevator to the 15th floor. I'm wearing a dark suit and carrying a leather portfolio, looking like any other business professional in the building. The Morrison Industries conference room is easy to find. There's a sign outside the door announcing the 2 p.m. presentation from Grant's agency. I walk past the room casually and note the layout. A long table surrounded by chairs, a projection screen at one end, and Grant's laptop already connected to the presentation system. I continue down the hallway and find a men's restroom where I can wait until the presentation begins. At exactly 2 I hear voices in the corridor as people file into the conference room. At 2:05, I walk back past the conference room. Through the glass walls, I can see Grant standing at the front of the room, gesturing confidently as he speaks to the assembled group. Eliza sits at the table, taking notes and nodding at appropriate moments. This is it, the moment we've been planning for. I pull out my phone and send a text message to Chloe. Now. 3 floors below, in the building's parking garage, Chloe is sitting in her car with her own laptop, connected to the building's guest Wi-Fi network. Using the password and login information she obtained from Grant's computer, she remotely accesses his presentation files and begins the substitution. It takes her exactly 4 minutes to replace Grant's marketing slides with our carefully curated collection of evidence: screenshots of text messages, copies of hotel receipts, photos of Grant and Eliza together, and excerpts from their email correspondence. At 2:09, I position myself where I can see into the conference room through the glass wall. Grant is in the middle of discussing market penetration strategies when his slide changes unexpectedly. Instead of a chart showing demographic data, the screen now displays a text message exchange between Grant and Eliza. Grant: Can't wait to see you tonight. I've missed you. Eliza: Me too. Should I bring the wine you like? Grant: Bring yourself. That's all I need. The room goes silent. Grant turns to look at the screen, and his face goes pale. He frantically clicks his remote control, trying to advance to the next slide, but instead of marketing data, he gets a photo of himself and Eliza kissing in a hotel lobby. I'm sorry, he stammers. There seems to be a technical malfunction, but the damage is done. The next slide is a hotel receipt showing a room booked under Grant's name for a night when he told Chloe he was at a business conference in Seattle. The slide after that shows an email from Eliza describing their afternoon together in explicit detail. The Morrison Industries executives are staring at the screen in shock. Grant's own employees are looking back and forth between him and Eliza with expressions ranging from embarrassment to disgust. Eliza has gone completely white. She's gripping the edge of the table so tightly her knuckles are visible from across the room. Turn it off, she hisses at Grant. Turn off the projector. But Grant seems paralyzed. He keeps clicking the remote, and each new slide reveals another piece of evidence. Text messages, photos, emails, receipts, months of their affair laid out for everyone to see. Finally, one of the Morrison Industries executives stands up. I think we've seen enough, he says coldly. This meeting is over. People begin filing out of the conference room, some shaking their heads, others whispering to each other. Grant's employees avoid eye contact with their boss as they gather their materials and head for the door. Within minutes, the conference room is empty except for Grant and Eliza, who are having a heated, whispered argument. I can't hear what they're saying, but their body language tells the story. Grant is angry and defensive. Eliza is panicked and accusatory. I take a few more photos through the glass wall, then walk to the elevator and leave the building. By the time I reach my car, Chloe has already called. Did it work? She asks. Better than we hoped. You should have seen their faces. What happens now? Now we wait for the fallout. This is going to spread through their professional network like wildfire. By tomorrow morning, everyone in their industry will know what happened. I drive home feeling a sense of satisfaction I haven't experienced in months. For the first time since this whole situation began, I'm not the one being lied to or manipulated. I'm not the victim of someone else's choices. I'm the one in control. When Piper comes home from school, she immediately notices my mood. You look different, she says. What happened? Your mother's presentation didn't go as planned. She grins. Did you do something? I may have helped expose the truth. Good, it's about time. Eliza doesn't come home that night. At 11:30 p.m., she sends a text message. Staying at Jessica's house tonight. Need time to think. Jessica is Eliza's sister, a woman who has never liked me and who will undoubtedly take Eliza's side in whatever story she's been told about today's events. I show the text to Piper, who rolls her eyes. She's probably telling Aunt Jessica that you somehow sabotaged her presentation because you're jealous of her success. Probably. Are you going to tell her you know about the affair? Soon, but not yet. I want to see how she tries to explain what happened today. The next morning, I wake up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages from Eliza. The messages start out angry, then become pleading, then angry again. She wants to come home. She wants to talk. She wants me to help her figure out how the presentation went so wrong. But she never once mentions Grant. She never acknowledges that their affair has been exposed. She's still trying to maintain the fiction that they're just colleagues who happen to be humiliated together. I don't respond to any of her messages. Instead, I make breakfast for Piper and myself, and we discuss her plans for the weekend. "Dad," she says as she finishes her cereal, "I'm proud of you." For what? For not letting them get away with it, for fighting back. At that moment, I realize that this isn't just about my marriage anymore. It's about showing my daughter that people have consequences for their actions, that betrayal and lies don't go unpunished, and that sometimes the quiet, patient person in the room is the most dangerous one of all. The game is far from over, but for the first time in months, I'm winning. By Friday morning, the story of Grant and Eliza's humiliation has spread through their professional network like a virus. My phone starts ringing at 7:30 a.m., with calls from people I haven't heard from in months, all wanting to know if I've heard about what happened at Morrison Industries. The first call is from Tom Bradley, a guy I went to college with who now works in marketing for a competing agency. "Nathan, please tell me you've heard about this Grant Garrison thing," he says without even saying hello. "What about Grant Garrison?" "Dude, he and some woman from his agency got caught having an affair during a client presentation. The whole thing was projected on screen in front of everyone. It's all over LinkedIn." I feign surprise. "You're kidding." "I'm not kidding. Someone recorded part of it on their phone and posted it online. The woman is married too, apparently. Her husband works in tech or something." "That's terrible," I say, trying to keep the satisfaction out of my voice. "It gets worse." Morrison Industries canceled their contract and sent out an email to other companies warning them about Grant's agency. They're calling it unprofessional conduct and a breach of trust. After Tom hangs up, I spend an hour researching the online fallout. The video he mentioned is everywhere. LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok. Someone in the conference room recorded the moment when Grant's slides switched to show his text messages with Eliza, and the clip has been viewed thousands of times. The comments are brutal. People are calling Grant and Eliza everything from unprofessional to disgusting. Several comments mention that both of them are married, and a few people have already identified Eliza by name. My phone rings again. This time, it's Eliza. "Nathan, thank God you answered. I need to come home. We need to talk." "Where are you?" "I'm at Jessica's, but I can't stay here anymore. She keeps asking questions I can't answer." "What kind of questions?" "About the presentation. About Grant. About us." Her voice breaks slightly. "Nathan, someone recorded what happened and put it online. Everyone has seen it." "I heard about that. It must be embarrassing." "Embarrassing?" She laughs, but there's no humor in it. "My career is over. Grant's career is over. The agency is probably going to fire both of us." "Why would they fire you? It was just a technical malfunction, right?" There's a long pause. "Nathan, we need to talk. In person. Can I come home?" "Of course you can come home. It's your house, too." She arrives 20 minutes later, looking like she hasn't slept in days. Her usually perfect hair is disheveled, her makeup is smeared, and she's wearing the same clothes she had on Wednesday morning. Piper is at school, so we have the house to ourselves. Eliza sits across from me at the kitchen table, and for the first time in months, she looks genuinely vulnerable. "Nathan, I need to tell you something." "I'm listening." "Grant and we've been..." She stops, unable to say the words. "You've been having an affair." She looks up at me, startled. "You know?" "I've known for weeks." "Then why didn't you say anything?" I lean back in my chair and study her face. Even now, caught in her lies and humiliated in front of her entire industry, she's trying to find an angle, a way to make this my fault somehow. "Because I wanted to see how far you'd take it. I wanted to see if you'd come clean on your own, or if you'd keep lying to my face every single day. I was going to tell you. When? After you left me for Grant? After you convinced Piper that I was the problem in our marriage? After you destroyed our family for a man who treats you like a conquest?" Tears start rolling down her cheeks, but I feel no sympathy. These aren't tears of remorse. They're tears of self-pity from someone who got caught and is facing consequences for the first time. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she says. It just developed over time. Grant understands me in ways you don't. Grant understands you? Eliza, I've read his emails. He talks about you like you're a piece of property he's acquired. He brags to his friends about his hot subordinate who does whatever he wants. Her face goes pale. You read our emails? I read everything. Text messages, hotel receipts, credit card statements. I know about every lie you've told me over the past 3 months. She stares at me in shock. How? Does it matter? The point is, I know. Piper knows. And now, thanks to yesterday's presentation, everyone in your professional world knows too. Piper knows? Her voice is barely a whisper. She figured it out on her own. She's 15, not 5. She noticed that you were working late every night, but your agency's social media didn't show any evidence of major campaigns or urgent projects. Eliza puts her head in her hands. Oh, God, what must she think of me? She thinks you're selfish and dishonest. She thinks you've been treating your family like an inconvenience while you pursue your midlife crisis. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time you asked Piper about school or her college applications or her plans for the future? When's the last time you had a conversation with her that wasn't about your work schedule or your needs? Eliza doesn't answer because she can't. For months, she's been so focused on her affair with Grant that she's neglected everyone else in her life. Nathan, I know I've made mistakes, but we can work through this. We can go to counseling. We can... No. The word hangs in the air between us like a door slamming shut. No? I'm not interested in working through this. I'm not interested in counseling or forgiveness or pretending this never happened. You made your choice, and now you have to live with the consequences. What does that mean? It means I'm filing for divorce. It means I want you out of this house. And it means I'm going to make sure Piper doesn't have to watch you lie to us anymore. She stares at me like I've just spoken a foreign language. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Nathan, please. I love you. I love our family. Grant doesn't mean anything to me. If Grant doesn't mean anything to you, then why did you risk everything for him? Why did you lie to me every single day for 3 months? Why did you choose him over your husband and daughter? She doesn't have an answer for that either. My phone buzzes with a text message. It's from Chloe. Can you meet me for coffee? We need to talk. I stand up from the table. I have to go out for a while. When I get back, I want you to pack a bag and stay somewhere else tonight. We'll figure out the permanent arrangements later. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. I leave Eliza sitting at the kitchen table and drive to the coffee shop where I'm meeting Chloe. She's already there when I arrive, sitting in a corner booth with her laptop open and a grim expression on her face. We have a situation, she says as soon as I sit down. Grant knows we were behind yesterday's presentation disaster. How? He hired a computer forensics expert to trace the hack. The expert found evidence that someone accessed his files remotely using his own login credentials. This is what I was afraid of. We knew there was a risk that Grant would figure out the sabotage wasn't accidental, but I'd hoped we'd have more time before he connected it back to us. What's he planning to do about it? He's threatening to go to the police. He's claiming we committed corporate espionage and destroyed his business. Can he prove it was us? Not definitively. But he can prove someone hacked his computer, and we're the two people with the most obvious motive. I think about this for a moment. Grant is desperate and humiliated, which makes him dangerous, but he's also arrogant and impulsive, which makes him prone to mistakes. Let him go to the police, I say. What are they going to do? Arrest us for exposing his affair? Nathan, computer hacking is a federal crime. Even if we don't go to prison, the legal fees alone could bankrupt us. Only if they can prove we did it, and only if they can prove we caused actual financial damage to his business. His agency lost the Morrison Industries contract. That's $3 million in revenue. His agency lost that contract because he and Eliza were having an affair, not because we exposed it. We didn't create the problem. We just made sure people knew about it. Chloe looks skeptical. You think that distinction will matter to a jury? I think Grant has bigger problems than pursuing a hacking case against us. His wife is divorcing him, his business is collapsing, and his reputation is destroyed. The last thing he wants is more public attention on his personal life. As if summoned by our conversation, my phone rings. The caller ID shows Grant's name. Speak of the devil, I tell Chloe, then answer the call. Hello, Grant. You piece of garbage, he snarls. You think you're so clever, don't you? I think you have the wrong number. You're looking for someone who cares about your opinion. I know what you did. I know you hacked my computer and sabotaged my presentation. That's a serious accusation. I hope you have proof. I have enough proof to send you to prison. Then I guess I'll see you in court. In the meantime, I'd suggest you focus on finding a new job. I hear Morrison Industries is telling everyone in town about your professional conduct issues. I hang up before he can respond. Chloe is staring at me with a mixture of admiration and concern. You're not worried about his threats? Grant is a bully who's used to intimidating people into doing what he wants, but bullies fold when someone stands up to them. What if you're wrong? Then I'll deal with the consequences, but I'm not going to let him scare me into backing down. We spend another hour discussing strategy and contingency plans. By the time I leave the coffee shop, I'm confident that Grant's threats are mostly bluster. He's too busy trying to save his career and his marriage to follow through on a complicated legal case. When I get home, Eliza's car is gone. There's a note on the kitchen counter. Staying at Jessica's until we can figure this out. Please don't do anything rash. We can fix this. E. Piper comes home from school an hour later and immediately notices her mother's absence. Where's Mom? She's staying at your aunt's house for a few days. Good. I didn't want to see her anyway. Piper, she's still your mother. You don't have to forgive her, but you shouldn't hate her either. I don't hate her. I'm just disappointed. I thought she was smarter than this. That evening, Piper and I order Chinese takeout and watch a movie together. It's the most relaxed I've felt in months. No tension, no lies, no pretending everything is normal when it's clearly not. As we're cleaning up after dinner, Piper asks the question I've been dreading. Dad, what happens now? Now we figure out how to move forward. Your mom and I are getting divorced, but that doesn't change anything between you and me. Will I have to choose who to live with? Legally, yes, but you're old enough that the court will consider your preference. Then I choose you. You don't have to decide right now. Yes, I do. Mom made her choice when she decided Grant was more important than her family. Now I'm making mine. That night, after Piper goes to bed, I sit in my office and begin researching divorce attorneys. I want someone aggressive, someone who won't be intimidated by Grant's threats or swayed by Eliza's attempts at manipulation. As I'm scrolling through lawyer websites, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. You'll pay for what you've done. I screenshot the message and add it to my growing file of evidence. Grant is making this easier than I expected. Every threat, every angry phone call, every attempt at intimidation just gives me more ammunition to use against him. I text back, looking forward to it. Then I turn off my phone and go to bed. Tomorrow, the real war begins. Saturday morning arrives with the kind of autumn storm that makes you grateful to be inside. Rain lashes against the windows, and the wind howls through the trees in our backyard. It's the perfect weather for the confrontation I know is coming. Piper and I are making pancakes when the doorbell rings at 8:30 a.m. Through the front window, I can see Grant's Range Rover parked in my driveway, engine still running. Stay in the kitchen, I tell Piper. Dad, maybe I should call the police. Not yet. Let's see what he wants. I open the front door to find Grant standing on my porch, soaked from the rain and looking like he hasn't slept in days. His usually perfect hair is disheveled, his expensive suit is wrinkled, and there's a wild look in his eyes that suggests he's operating on pure desperation. We need to talk, he says. No, we don't. Get off my property. I start to close the door, but he puts his hand against it to stop me. You destroyed my life, he snarls. My wife filed for divorce yesterday. My business partners are forcing me out of the agency. Morrison Industries is telling everyone in town that I'm unprofessional and untrustworthy. That's what happens when you get caught cheating on your wife with a subordinate during a business presentation. You know damn well that wasn't an accident. You hacked my computer and sabotaged my presentation. Prove it. He steps closer, trying to intimidate me with his size. Grant is taller than me and probably outweighs me by 30 pounds, but I don't back down. I don't need to prove it in court, he says. I just need to make you pay for what you've done. Are you threatening me, Grant? I'm promising you. That's when I notice the baseball bat in his right hand, partially concealed behind his leg. My pulse quickens, but I keep my voice calm and steady. You might want to reconsider that approach. My daughter is inside, and if you think I'm going to let you threaten my family, you're even stupider than I thought. Your daughter? What about my kids? What am I supposed to tell them when they see their father's humiliation all over the internet? You should have thought about that before you decided to cheat on their mother. He raises the bat slightly, and I tense, ready to defend myself. But before either of us can make a move, another car pulls into my driveway. It's Chloe, driving Grant's BMW. Apparently, she's already claimed some of his assets. She gets out of the car and walks toward us, completely ignoring the rain. "Grant, what are you doing here?" she asks. "Stay out of this, Chloe. This is between me and him." "No, it's not. You're on someone else's property with a weapon, making threats. That makes it everyone's business." She pulls out her phone and starts recording. For the record, it's 8:47 a.m. on Saturday, October 21st. Grant Garrison is standing on Nathan Heller's front porch, holding a baseball bat and making threatening statements. "Turn off the camera," Grant snaps. "I don't think so. Keep talking, Grant. Tell everyone how you're going to make Nathan pay for exposing your affair." Grant looks back and forth between Chloe and me, realizing that his plan to intimidate me has backfired. With Chloe recording everything, any violence on his part will be documented and used against him in court. "This isn't over," he says, backing away from the door. "Yes, it is," I reply. "It's been over since the moment you decided to sleep with my wife. Everything that's happened since then has just been the natural consequences of your choices." He starts to leave, then turns back. "You think you're so smart, don't you? You think you've won?" "I know I've won. You lost your wife, your business, your reputation, and your self-respect. What exactly do you have left to fight with?" Grant doesn't have an answer for that. He storms back to his Range Rover and speeds away, tires squealing on the wet pavement. Chloe stops recording and joins me on the porch. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Thanks for showing up when you did." "I was driving by and saw his car. I figured he might try something stupid." She pauses. "Nathan, I think we need to be careful. Grant is desperate, and desperate people do unpredictable things." "I agree, but I'm not going to hide from him." Piper appears in the doorway behind me. "Dad, was that Grant?" "Yes, but he's gone now." "He looked crazy." "He is crazy. That's what happens when your whole life falls apart in 1 week." Chloe stays for breakfast, and we discuss the next steps in our respective divorce proceedings. Her lawyer has already filed papers seeking half of Grant's assets, plus alimony and attorney fees. My lawyer is preparing a similar strategy with Eliza. "The interesting thing," Chloe says, "is that both of them are claiming they're the victims in this situation. Grant is telling people that we're vindictive spouses who destroyed their careers out of jealousy." "Let them tell that story," I reply. "Anyone who sees the evidence will know the truth." After Chloe leaves, Piper and I spend the afternoon organizing the house and preparing for what we both know will be a difficult conversation with Eliza. She's been texting me constantly, asking to come home and work things out, but I've been ignoring her messages. At 4:30 p.m., she shows up without warning. I open the door to find my wife standing on the same porch where Grant had threatened me 6 hours earlier. But where Grant looked desperate and dangerous, Eliza looks defeated and small. "Nathan, please. We need to talk." "Come in." She follows me into the living room, where Piper is doing homework on the couch. When Piper sees her mother, she doesn't look up from her textbook. "Hi, sweetheart," Eliza says tentatively. "Mom." Piper's tone is polite but cold. "Can we have some privacy?" Eliza asks me. "No, whatever you have to say, you can say it in front of Piper. She's part of this family too, and she deserves to hear the truth." Eliza sits down in the chair across from us, looking uncomfortable and out of place in her own home. "I've been thinking about everything that's happened," she begins, "and I realize I've made some terrible mistakes." "Some mistakes?" Piper looks up from her homework. "Mom, you had an affair with your boss and humiliated our entire family. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." "Piper, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You decided Grant was more important than Dad and me, so you lied to us every day for months while you snuck around with him." Eliza's eyes fill with tears. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" I ask. "Explain it to us." "Grant made me feel special, important, like I mattered." "You mattered to us," Piper says, "but apparently that wasn't enough. Your father and I had grown apart. We barely talked anymore. We were like roommates, not husband and wife." "So you decided to fix that by sleeping with someone else?" I ask. "I didn't plan for it to happen. It just developed over time." "Nothing just develops, Eliza. You made a series of conscious choices. You chose to stay late at the office. You chose to go to hotels with Grant. You chose to lie to me about where you were and what you were doing." She wipes her eyes with a tissue. "I know I hurt you, both of you. But we can get past this. We can rebuild our marriage." "No, we can't. Nathan, please." "Eliza, it's over. I've already filed for divorce." She stares at me in shock. "You filed for divorce?" "Yesterday. You'll be served with papers on Monday." "But I hoped." "You hoped what? That I'd forgive you and pretend none of this happened? That we'd go back to being the perfect suburban family while you continued your affair with Grant? The affair is over. Grant and I, we're not seeing each other anymore. Of course you're not. His wife threw him out, his business partners fired him, and his reputation is destroyed. He doesn't have anything left to offer you. Piper closes her textbook and looks directly at her mother. Mom, do you even realize what you've done to our family? Sweetheart, I know I've made mistakes. Stop calling them mistakes. You chose Grant over us. You chose your affair over your marriage. You chose lies over truth. Those weren't mistakes. They were betrayals. Eliza breaks down completely, sobbing into her hands. For a moment, I feel a flicker of the sympathy I used to have for her. Then I remember the months of lies, the nights she came home smelling like another man, the way she looked me in the eye and lied about where she'd been. Eliza, you need to leave. This is my house, too. Not anymore. My lawyer is seeking a restraining order that will prevent you from coming here without permission. You can't keep me away from my daughter. I'm not keeping you away from Piper, but she's old enough to decide whether she wants to see you, and right now she doesn't. Piper nods. I need time to process all of this, Mom. I need time to figure out if I can trust you again. But I'm your mother. And Dad is my father, but that didn't stop you from lying to him every single day. Eliza looks back and forth between us, finally understanding that her family is gone and it's her own fault. What am I supposed to do now? She whispers. That's not our problem anymore, I reply. You made your choice. Now you get to live with the consequences. She gathers her purse and heads for the door, then turns back one last time. Nathan, I want you to know that I did love you. I still do. No, Eliza, you loved the security I provided. You loved the comfortable life we built together. But you didn't love me enough to be faithful, and you didn't love our family enough to put us first. After she leaves, Piper and I sit in silence for a few minutes, processing what just happened. Are you okay? I ask her. I'm sad, but I'm also relieved. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. We don't have to pretend anymore. Dad, do you think Mom will ever understand what she did wrong? I don't know, sweetheart. Some people are capable of genuine remorse and change. Others just feel sorry for themselves when they get caught. Which kind do you think Mom is? I consider the question carefully. I think your mother is someone who got caught up in the excitement of an affair and convinced herself it was justified, whether she learns from this experience or just blames everyone else for her problems. That's up to her. That evening, as we're having dinner, my phone rings. It's Chloe. Nathan, you need to know something. Grant tried to break into my house tonight. Are you okay? I'm fine. The security system scared him off, and the police are looking for him now. But I wanted to warn you. He's completely lost it. He's dangerous. What did the police say? They're treating it as attempted burglary, but they know about the divorce and the affair. They're taking it seriously. After I hang up, I double-check all the locks in our house and make sure the security system is armed. Grant's visit this morning was just the beginning. A man who's lost everything has nothing left to lose, which makes him capable of anything, but I'm not afraid. For the first time in months, I'm exactly where I want to be. In my own home, with my daughter, free from lies and manipulation and false promises. The game is over, and I won. Outside, the storm continues to rage, but inside our house, everything is finally calm.